Welcome to another episode of War Hero to Superhero, coming to you live from Facebook, YouTube, the Easy Way Network, and also on Podopolo. You can go over and take your podcast and bring it to a dynamic, interactive level to go over and have your podcast thrive while you're going over and getting paid revenue ad shares. So, again, I am your host for this Facebook and podcast, Daniel Faust, and we're back in the living room, virtually speaking, going over and talking about freedom this month. And we've been talking about how to go over and be free in the living room with your family, especially with your kids in this season. So the whole theme this month is freedom. So we've been joining that in multiple modalities. And today we're going to be talking about motivations. Ooh, that's a hard topic, isn't it? Because summer can be a long 70 days. If you ever counted it out, it's 10 weeks, 7 days, 70 days, especially if your child is not motivated. We are in still a post slash pre slash in between COVID season here. Delaware is kind of a red zone now, and New York and New Jersey saying things are different. And we don't know if we're going to go back to school in school, and we at least know, quote unquote, summer vacation will end, but we don't know what it's going to be. So, how in this season can we motivate a child? I have four. Man, if I had one, it'd be a breeze. But everybody has their plate that they can go over and handle. So, how can we motivate a child or children? So, here's some tips, and most of these tips come from imom.com. So, if you want to take your mom life to the 21st century in the digital world, go to imom.com. So, first off, we have to go over and understand, you and I need to go over and understand, is our child internally motivated or externally motivated? This is huge. With all the tips from imom.com, we're going to go over to motivate your children. You have to know which child or children are internally and externally motivated. Now, here's the difference. Internal motivation is that they have that thought of going over and accomplishing a goal, accomplishing a degree. Not degree, a plan or a degree or anything that they're going over doing. And they don't need any external parent, teacher, money, goals. Not goals, things that are external. So external motivations like allowance, commission, fame, fortune, those types of things coming out. If your child is externally motivated, then they need all those things. They need something external coming from outside of themselves. Maybe it's praise, accomplishment, money, fame. No matter what it is, that you first need to understand, is your child internally motivated or externally motivated? Once you can go over and understand that, then you can take these 10 tips to motivate from imom.com and go over and apply them to your specific child. So we're going to go through these really quick. If you guys have any recommendations, we'd love to go here, because this is always a dialogue. You can always go to our social media pages, or if you're already on Podopolo and you're already trying out our app as friendlies, or you're watching this in, distant land in the future, we'd love for you to go share your comments and to go over and to engage. Especially in the living room, we usually have 10 challenges you can do every day and every week that you can go over and gamify your podcast and actually win those internal and external awards. So let's go in. So first tip is to go over and set goals. If we just go tell our kids to go over and be motivated and we don't have goals and intentions in mind, then they're not going to be motivated. We have to do that ourselves. What are we wanting to accomplish? Most of my kids are wanting to go be YouTube stars, so they have to have goals. They have to have little milestones to go over and do that. One of my daughter's first goals is to go over and to at least have a sixth grade spelling capacity to go over and do these YouTube lives. Because I'm not going to write all her content. If she can't go over and spell it there, then it's no point that I'm doing all the work for her. She'll have to pay me if that's that point. So we have to set goals. So one of the first goals I set for her was to go over and do that. My son, since my son is more motivated than she is in that regard, she's more externally motivated. My son's more internally motivated. My son's first goal was to actually get to $50 to $100 of finances to go over and to get his headset, because he wants to do Minecraft YouTube channel. So the goals have to be set. They have to be small, they have to be measurable, they have to be specific, they have to be attainable, they have to be realistic, they have to be time bound, but goals have to be set to go over and meet those. Once you go over and got the goals where to set, you got to go over and make a plan. So how does my daughter go over and get to understanding sixth grade spelling? How does my son go over and get $5,200? We made a commission-based system for all the kids to go over and earn. They can earn up to $1.25 a day on the basic routine stuff that we're following, and they can go over and earn more if they come to me and actually want to do things to take over. So we created them a plan. And for my daughter, I tried to go over and to work with her on her spelling. So that's the way you go over and do it, at least from that context. So making a plan. You want buy-in from the child on all these things you're going over and doing. If you don't have buy-in on setting goals, making a plan, or any of these things to motivate, it's not going to work. Just so you know. Going from there, you got to go over and celebrate. You got to celebrate those small goals there. So is it a pat on the back? Is it a hug? Is it going over an extra fiscal bonus? Is it going over? Is it family time? Is it going out to their favorite place? Whatever it is, you got to go over and celebrate. So maybe you make a jar that goes over and does a celebration, or maybe you have a special like digital wheel that we have on our phone, and you go over and you spin that sucker, and it's all the things that they go over and like to go over and to celebrate. So that's an option to go do that. From there, you can make things competitive. One of the things that I'm going to be going over and doing, which I just saw recently on LinkedIn, is they say the difference between an employee mindset and an entrepreneur mindset is when you start with a kid. If your kids are earning an allowance, they are allowed to earn that money. That's why they get confused. Why don't they get their allowance? Because that's what it means. You're allowing them to have it. When you make things competitive, for example, what I'm going to do is pay them X amount of dollars for per book they read or per audiobook they go over and listen to. Then they go over and that creates more of an entrepreneurial mindset, and it also makes it competitive because they can continue to go over and earn more. So make things competitive. Think of something that you would go over and compete in to go over and make things fun. Next one is to encourage them. And encourage comes from the definition of encourage is to infuse courage into them. If a child, a teen, or an adult, doesn't matter who it is, if they don't go over and see themselves in that place, then you can go over and mentally put them in their place, saying that they can go over and do it. You're walking there with them. They have their backstop. You're going over and giving them courage points to go over and to continue to go over and do it. Most people fail their dreams is because if they're doing it all on their own and they're not getting encouragement, especially if they're externally motivated. If they're externally motivated, they're going to need that from the outside. If they're internally motivated, they can get their courage internally from themselves, but we all need that encouragement occasionally. It's just the externally motivated kids need a lot more often from the outside than the internally motivated kids. This one's going to be the hardest one, and I'm just going to say it point blank. So when I went over and read this blog real quick and go over and try to wrap my mind around this, because I saw it as good content and everything else to deliver to you guys, this one's the hardest. Take an interest in what they're going over and doing. If not as a hobby for yourself to join with them, then for them. And I really worded that wrong. So you want to take an interest in what they're going over and doing. If it's not the hobby, it's basically for them. You do it in the sense that you love on them. So here's a way to go over and apply this is that you go over, for example, my son loves Minecraft. That's his interest. That externally and internally goes over and motivates him every day to keep him to go over and build up. Because he says, I really want you to be proud of me. I said, it's nothing personal, William. I wouldn't be proud of anybody going over and doing any Minecraft stuff, but I'm proud of you. And I support it because I love you. I'll probably never love your hobby, but I take an interest in you as my son. And then I will go over and learn and cultivate and grow that understanding to take an interest in there. I will take the interest because of him, not because of the hobby. Sometimes you can go over and do it. You might have the same similar hobbies. So it might be easier to go over and motivate your kids when you take an interest in their hobby in what they're going over and doing, no matter what it is. But the thing is that the most important thing is you take the interest because of the child. That shows true love. You're doing the thing for them, not because of the hobby. Because if you only do it for the hobby because you're both interested in it, when you're both not interested in it or one's not interested in it, then the motivation totally goes away. So we as adults have to go take it as a deeper level and take the interest in our kids to then go over and to continue to help them go over and thrive and stay motivated in whatever they're doing. If it's a hobby, a passion, a dream, whatever it is. The next thing to go over and keep our kids motivated is discover passion. We need to go over and take an active and a passive role in this. Why is it both? An active role goes over and starts asking those questions to go over and figure out what they're passionate about, what they go over and watch. The passive role is us sitting back and letting them do what they're going over and doing, and then observing them going over and seeing what they like to be interested. Like for passion for food wise, my daughter Hope loves noodles. So I know she's passionate about it. I don't need to actively go over and ask her if she's doing that. I see anytime we have a noodle based meal, she's really passionate about it. She even said she's really passionate about tamales recently, a different food passion in that particular regard. Now, that's not a long term passion that's going to go over and apparently motivate her, but that's the difference between active and passive. I don't need to actively go over and ask. I'm passively listening, passively watching. It's kind of more active, but I'm not actively pursuing to figure out that passion. I can go over and see it with my eyes, hear it with my ears, go over and hear the words that are passing through the conversation at the dinner table. So that's an example. One of the biggest things is to go over and keep kids motivated. And I found this out in doing PT with them the other day, is to remain positive. They absolutely despise when I told them straight out, I'm like, your PT sucks, because they were doing absolutely nothing. And I told them that, like, hey, you're going to go over and walk for 30 minutes. They initially were not into it. Once they saw me running from the other direction, I said, hey, you want to go run with me? And they got excited, and all of them went over and ran. My positive energy, my excitement, bringing energy back to the thing went over and motivated them. And my daughter, my second youngest daughter, Trinity, kept up with me the majority of the time. Hope came from behind and actually kept up. And Faith just totally blindsided me in speed and everything else. She was excited. She was motivated. Kept it positive the entire thing. When I tried just to go over and say straight out, just do PT, and I didn't remain positive, I was more of a director and just saying, hey, you just need to get it done, it didn't go over and work. When I became positive and became motivated and went over and ran and caught up with them in the opposite direction, and then they turned to run with me, they were more active, they were more motivated. And again, my daughter says she can't run fast, but she ran past me, and I'm an active runner. So a couple more things. Peer pressure. Now, this one usually can have a negative connotation with it. So listen to me before you go over and tune me out. So don't just drop off on the video. Positive peer pressure from friends that are going over encouraging. A lot of times when it comes from us and we do the quote unquote peer pressure from the parent to the child, it doesn't work so well, does it? Like, they tend not to go over and listen. But if it's someone from the outside, let's say a church counselor, a teacher, fellow students that go over and against pressure to encourage them to keep going, either in the classroom and everything else. I know for myself, my TI did not go over and do good peer pressure when I was in basic training to stay in. But the airman that talked to me 20 years ago, and I wish I could remember his name, he peer pressured me to go over and stay in, to see the benefits, to see past that, because in motivation, we have moments that we drop. And I was like, I'm done. And I'm thankful for that peer pressure for me to go over and stay in, because now I have a 20-year career ending in October. That means I'll have 20 years. I'm eligible for retirement. And I'm thankful for going over that. He kept me externally motivated when internally I wanted to go. And we need to do the same thing for our kids, is that if we have connections that they go over and admire, they go over and inspire, that they go over and trust, then maybe we can encourage them to go over and motivate them in a sense of a peer-to-peer person going over and encouraging them in a positive pressure way. Not in the way we tend to believe, like, hey, go over and smoke drugs and do weed and all this other stuff, not that type of way, but in the sense of positive peer pressure to go over and challenge and to go over and encourage. The last one, excite them. Make it exciting. Bring the excitement energy to going over and doing that. What would it look like you to have 1,000 YouTube subscribers? What would it look like getting monetized like Mr. Beast? What would it look like going over and having your art in a studio? What would it look like you going over and getting that scholarship to go to college? What would it go over and look like? And have them envision it. Maybe even build a vision board with them to get them excited to where they go over and go. So those are the 10 tips to go over and motivate. You can go find out more information, more incitement from imom.com on this particular inspired podcast that we're doing in live today. And as usual, our superhero challenge for the day. And definitely, if you're on Podopolo going over and listening to this, we want you to take the superhero challenge for the day. Take a step. There's 10 of them in there. And begin the legacy of motivating your child. As military veterans and first responders, we're kind of self-motivated. But sometimes our kids don't have that same internal or even external motivation. We have an opportunity to go raise the legacy of tomorrow, today, when we go over and take one of these steps to go over and to begin the legacy of motivating a child. Because once they go over and get going and they grab that bug and it goes from external to internal, and now they have that, or they have that external group that continually motivates them, then they will do great, inspiring things, not just in the future, but now. And that's going to be helpful for the legacy of your family. So we hope this was encouraging to you. If it was, we'd love to go and hear your likes, like to go hear your comments, like to go over and see your shares. Definitely go, if you're in Podopolo, to go over and take it to the next level. Go over and hit one of our custom action buttons and go over and implement maybe the superhero challenge or something else to go keep you motivating going. If you want to try out the new Podopolo app and you're watching this now live, please go over and send me a direct message. I can send you in there. I'd love to have you as a friendly to go over and test this out. And lastly, as we're always here, if you're struggling within this living room situation or in the bedroom or in the boardroom, we always give 20 minutes free to first time to every military veteran or first responder. And if you're wanting to go over and taking your war hero to superhero transformation to the next level, go over and look down below at patreon.com/thrive-not-survive. And as low as $5 a month, you can go over and make yourself a marriage superhero and beyond. We encourage you to go over and to connect with us in any social media modality that you're using. And we hope to go over and see you next week joining in the boardroom. And again, we're always here for you. So if you don't see us live, you can always connect us on social or definitely in the new Podopolo app. So I want to thank you guys for going over and joining. We hope to see you soon. And don't forget, each week when you want to go really in depth, you can go to the Easy Way Network to go over and watch our show live, War Hero to Superhero, the TV show that dives deeper into these types of concepts. We hope to go over and see you soon, and you guys have a great day. Thanks.